Mike, this is exciting stuff, man. You're heading over for the Contender Series. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, well, Cam Rowston is fighting in Dana White's Contender Series, which is basically Dana White's talent uncovering series, and it has very much has the emphasis on people who go for the finish, people who go for the knockout. So Cam Rowston's one of our boys who came over from Australia in 2019, and he's gone through the system, a little bit like Kevin Jusay, who was signed to the UFC last week. And so, we're starting to bear some fruit, and he's got the opportunity. Really, it's the biggest fight of his life.
So is it just simply he gets in the ring one time, and if he wins that fight, what happens from that point?
Well, he has to win the fight, but he also has to win in impressive fashion. You have to impress Dana White. And if you impress him, you'll get a UFC contract. If you win and he doesn't feel, suitably impressed, you won't. And it's that simple. So there's a dual process you've got to go for. You got to make sure you win, and then you've got to make sure you win impressively. And that's a bit of a switch up in mindset from just winning the fight.
Yeah, because, I don't know too much about this fighter. You tell me, but, what I'm reading is that, his approach is a little bit different than that. He might be, and I'm not saying cautious, but he might be more of a technical fighter that wears you down. Would that be fair?
Oh, look, Cam's always been a very calculated fighter. He's 6'4". He's got great range. He works his sharp weapons, in other words, his knees and his elbows really well. And has very good kicks. Really, he just needs to switch up and look to force the knockout a little bit. Not so much force the knockout, but create the knockout, because you've got to be very careful when you force something, it doesn't come. But it's just a slight switch in mindset for any fighter who goes in the Contender Series. Is what is going to impress is a vicious stoppage, and that's what we've got to look for.
He's fighting a South African dude. Tell us about the opponent.
Well, he's fighting Chad Hanekom, who's a 6'4" South African, so he's a big guy, a pretty well-known rugby player in his time, actually. He was a pretty decent rugby player, transitioned to MMA, and he's a typical raw-boned yappy. He's he's strong.
We saw plenty of that against us at Twickenham, mate, so I think we know what you mean.
Yeah, just very, very Shrek strength. He's basically a giant South African troll who wants to get hold of you and just inflict some damage. So, interesting clash in styles. Both boys are 6'4". They will be used to having the height advantage in their weight division. So it's also who is better able to deal with someone of a similar height. That can be a challenge as well when you've always had that advantage. We saw that with Pereira and Israel, both being 6'4" when they fought, and it's a similar thing here. Who's going to deal with that first?
Senior City kickboxing coach Mike Angove is catching the plane with his fighter Cam Rowston, and he's off to in this Dana White Contender Series. What is Dana White like, mate? What's he like as a bloke?
Him and I are personal friends going back way back.
Right.
Look, I mean, he's a businessman. He loves the sport. He knows it inside out. He's effectively created and been the architect of a sport that's come from obscurity into the mainstream in America. So he knows how to make pretty clinical decisions. But the thing is with Dana is he knows what he's looking for. And you have to step up in that mold if you're going to get the contract by going into the Contender Series.
What does the contract mean exactly? How many fights does that guarantee you?
Typically, you'll have a 4-fight contract, and then you have a certain starting rate. Different fighters start on different rates. Basically, we get show money and then win money plus bonus money. But really, the opportunity to perform on the biggest MMA stage, it is very much a global mainstream stage, is massive. So for Cam, this is the biggest fight of his life, and it's something that he has been working towards for years and years and years. So huge opportunity for him, and of course coming at the time when we're all in camp. We're back up to having 6 on UFC 293 plus 2 other guys who are fighting on the Friday in Sydney that night. Means we've got 9 guys fighting for City Kickboxing internationally in that fight week. So it's a huge time for us all.
How much training does happen during a day, and how many different sessions do you have then?
Well, the boys are just doing their skill session at the moment that I've just walked out of, and that's every morning for an hour and a half. They did about an hour's conditioning just prior to that session. Cam's coming straight out of that, and he'll be doing an hour's pads with me, and then this evening they've got another session. So usually you're talking a minimum of 15 sessions a week. Most often sort of 17 to 18 sessions. So if you do the maths, basically with one full rest day, you're doing about 3 sessions a day.
Who does all your food and takes care of the nutrition business and all of that kind of stuff?
The guys have got different nutritionists, but we primarily work with the fight dietitian, who takes care of everybody's food and their weight cutting, and then we have food suppliers. In terms of they prepare our meals and dictate what we can eat and how many calories and what we need to fuel each workout. So it's all pretty tightly and scientifically done.
Yeah, okay. And also finally, just on the camera and the fame side of things, how does that change it for you? How does that change it for Cam as well? They're going to be, because this is on ESPN too, people. That's what the Contender Series it is. As Mike says, it's mainstream America now, man. It's on ESPN. So you're going to have cameras all over the show, and they want to show as well. How does that affect you, and what do you say to him to kind of try to keep that out of his mind?
Look, it's something we're relatively familiar with now because we have cameras in the gym fairly frequently. But at the end of the day, whether we fight in Madison Square Gardens or we fight in a pub in Mangere, it's 2 men in a cave going to bash the snot out of each other.
Yeah.
And that doesn't change because some twat's got a camera, excuse my French.
That's right.
But that doesn't change, Cameras are everywhere these days, but ultimately substance is what's proven by your performance. So, all that is just superfluous fluff. We don't mind it in terms of marketing, but ultimately it doesn't impact how we fight.
Call it, man. Is he going to win this?
It's a tough fight, but of course he's going to win it. I mean, look, at this level, it's elite level, so every fight is a difficult fight and it's a step up. But I think Rowston will do well in this fight. I think this guy's tailor-made for him. But we will see, and we've got 9 guys fighting in that week, and hopefully we'll come back with 9 from 9.
All the best, brother. Thank you so much, mate.
No worries. Easy work.